Hello everyone, this is Anastasia Gors from PilatesBridge.com, and today I'm here with Wendy Anderson and from Pilates Passion Profit, right?
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about Pilates, passion, and profit.
Yes.
Awesome.
Call it what it is.
I know, yeah, we all love it. We all love Pilates, but we also want to make some money doing it, especially if you're a studio owner or maybe home studio owner. I know most of you guys have a lot of questions, and sometimes it's really difficult to get those questions answered because this is not something that your teacher training program prepares you for. You know how to teach, you know how to help your clients, but you don't necessarily know how to run a business unless you had like some kind of business experience before or have a coach or counselor. So this is where Wendy comes in. So she is a business coach specifically for Pilates studio owners. And I'm going to let her talk a little bit about how she got involved with Pilates, what it means for her personally, and then we're going to have some really great questions, including some of the biggest struggles that studio owners have, some of the biggest mistakes, and most importantly, what you can do right now yourself to get over those humps to get your Pilates business to a profitable level. Hey, so Wendy, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, talk a little bit about Pilates and what you do.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm super excited to be here. I got involved with Pilates. I was just thinking in my head, how many years ago? So it's been about a little over 17 years ago. My husband and I, we weren't even married yet, and we were engaged, and we were going to open up a business. He's a strength coach. And so we were going to open up an athletic enhancement performance facility for him. And I was like, well, I think it'd be kind of fun to do something with you. Let's work together. And I had a friend from California, and she's like, oh, you should check out Pilates. Now I'm like in Nebraska. I'm in the middle of the US, and there was no Pilates there. So the internet was just coming out, and I started research it, and I was like, oh, this is intriguing. And I ordered some VHS, and and I started to do the exercises, and I'm like, I can't do these. And I was a collegiate athlete myself. And so there's a bit of an ego that came into play here. And then, so I was like, And then as I just got to going into it and learning more about it, I fell in love with it. And I was like, I need to teach this. And so I went through the Stop Pilates instructor program. I did all of my courses in a little tiny bit over a year. It was a madhouse, but it was awesome. And we had opened up our facility. So I had half of the facility. He had the other half of the facility. And we signed the lease on the space. Now, I do not recommend this to anyone, but we signed the lease on the space without having any financing. Neither of us had any equipment. We were just newly married, not that long out of college kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to take this leap of faith. And that's what we needed to do. So we took that leap of faith together. And then I also became a training center. So I'm a licensed training center. We take care of Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, South Dakota, kind of the whole Midwest side of it. So so I started out on this business venture of owning a Pilates studio because I loved Pilates. And it didn't take very long until I figured out, you don't really have any business knowledge. So I remember at that point, I was very busy. I was taking 40 to 50 hours of clients a week, training all the time. And then all weekend long, I was training instructors. And I hit that breaking point, and I just said to my husband, you know what, we have got to figure this out, or we literally need to close the doors down, because I'm going crazy, you're going crazy. We're not, we're making money, but we're not like, we can't enjoy ourselves. We can't enjoy life. And so it was at that point where I was like, I'm not closing. This is our passion. This is our dreams. And so we're going to figure it out. And so needless to say, we figured it out. So
awesome. So how long did it take you to figure it out? Like from that kind of breaking point to find
I'm like, I'm still figuring it out. No. Yeah. It honestly, it took a couple of years. Yeah. So just taking it one step at a time, starting to learn about business, researching it, and really like we know the fitness industry. I knew Pilates. So then it was combining that, but not only that, but combining it with the area that we were in and learning how to market it, learning the financial side of it. For years and years and years, would always say, I hate accounting. Well, it's like I hate accounting, I hate numbers. Basically, you're saying I don't like money.
Yeah.
you know, it's like it was a whole mindset shift that had to happen. And that, I'm still obviously, you still work on that all throughout life. But yeah, so it's an interesting long process, and I'm continuing to learn all the time as we go through this. So
Cool. So
yeah.
what were some of the like what did you learn from running your own studio? I know you mentioned like about the business, but how do you use this knowledge right now to help other studio owners in their areas?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I learned and is that your business needs to fit into your life, because I think so many of us, our lives are trying to squeeze into the business somewhere, and we're not living life. We're not enjoying it. Studio owners are working, like I said, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and that's all they know. They have their business line hooked up to their cell phone, and their clients are calling them at 9 and 10 o'clock at night because that's when they think about them. And it's just all encompassing. And that for me was the biggest point. At that time, I didn't have children, but I said, I don't want my life to be like this when I do have kids.
Yeah.
And so really starting to, okay, how are the two going to mesh together so that I can live life loving it and have a business that's thriving and profitable to help support it.
Okay. So,
So
I mean, speaking on that, because this is also one of the biggest, like a lot of the studio owners that I work with with their web stuff, that's the thing that they tell me that I work 70, 80 hours a week.
yeah,
I don't have any more in me to give, but
yeah,
at the same time, I struggle making it. I mean, it, like you said, it makes money, but it doesn't make to the point where it's like, oh yeah, I can just chill, go on vacation for a week or a
yeah,
couple of weeks, and everything will be running smooth, or whatever it is, or enjoy time
yeah.
with it. So I think that work-life balance, not just the profitability, but just finding that work-life
Balance.
balance is even more important for a lot of studio owners than just money itself.
Absolutely. And I always joke, I trained two of my very good friends at 6 o'clock in the morning, and for a really long time. And I'm not a morning person. I might be up at 6 o'clock, but I do not want to look at you or talk to you. And so, so finally, I had to have the talk with them, kind of after this realization. And I just said, look, I really do not like the two of you in the morning. I love you as people, as friends, but making me get up and come in here at 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't like you. so, so I was like, we have got to find a different time for me to work with you. And they totally understood it. And that was the last time I ever took 6 a.m. clients again. Like 8 o'clock is pushing it, 9 o'clock, we're cool. I can talk to you. But, and some people are like, what? You're crazy. No, like for me, that was sanity. I didn't want to get up in the morning not liking people and starting my day off that way, because I'm just not a morning person.
Yeah.
Likewise, many studio owners, they're working 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
because, and part of the mentality is, how do I make more money? I train more clients, I work more hours.
Yeah.
And there are so many ways and things that we can do to make you more money so that you don't have to keep working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week to make it go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and one of those, go ahead.
no,
Yeah.
go ahead, finish up. I'll ask later.
Well, I was just, I had 3 clients this week that I've been working with. One of them hadn't raised their prices in 2 years. I'm like, okay. Another one had been hiding from me that it had been 7 years. I'm like, 7 years, what? And I had one not that long ago that had been 14 years at the same price,
Right,
because
and
they
the
were,
milk is not at the same
I
rate.
know, Exactly. I'm like, everything in your entire world has increased every year. So you're just, no wonder you're not making money, you know? And they all raised their prices, and guess what? Their client said, congratulations. You should have done this a long time ago. So yeah, sometimes our own money mindsets and our own fears can get away of us actually running a business. Because that's ultimately what we are. We're entrepreneurs who love to teach Pilates. But most people love to teach Pilates and then think about being an entrepreneur. Or don't think about it.
I don't think of it. They're just kind of trying to go with the flow, and things will work it themselves out, right?
Right, exactly.
The money will just flow into the bank.
Yeah.
And everything, yeah. But
right.
I think like another thing like you touched upon, it's for a lot of studio owners or even just instructors, it's so hard to say no to their clients. That like, and I feel it like when I teach my clients, sometimes like you build that relationship with them and you're working, you see their progress, and it's like, oh, I would really love to fit you in. Oh, how can I make my schedule work to fit you in? Because I've been, and this is a hard thing to kind of set some kind of boundaries for yourself personally, so that you can't say that no. It's like, well,
yeah, it's very hard because it's a personable business. We love people.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and help as many people as we can, but in the process, we're not taking care of ourselves. I always say the fastest way to stop doing Pilates is to start teaching Pilates. Because the last thing you want to do is stay another hour in the studio. So yeah, it's like we give, but we forget to think about ourselves and what we need, because we really need to be able to re-energize, refuel ourselves to give that much energy to our clients. But you hit it, it's the boundaries. And that's what a lot of people have a really hard time with, holding up those boundaries. Oh yeah, sure, I'll sneak you in this time. And then next week, yep, I can do that too. And the next week. And pretty soon you have no boundaries anymore.
So, I mean, that kind of leads to the next question. So what do you think are the biggest struggles that studio owners have, like the ones that you work with?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest struggles, I briefly touched about it, is that they feel like they have to train more to make more money.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just bring on more clients and then I'll be able to make more. And then probably the largest one is they just don't know how to get clients.
Yeah.
They wait for them just to walk in their door. Well, I had, one new client this month, like, what are you doing to actually go get them? Well, I asked my clients to refer their friends, and so, yeah, I'm like, good. Where, I would love to see, depending on the size of the studio, 1, 5, 8, 10, however many you can handle coming in a week. And so, but it's like figuring, those are the two biggest things. And I think one of the biggest mistakes too is I'll ask people, so what's your break-even point? Crickets. Crickets again. Because they just don't know their numbers. Yeah. They haven't, they know how much money is in their bank account, but they just don't know their numbers. And just speaking to a client the other day, and her bank account was down, and then I said, well, let's go look at the actual numbers of the people in your studio. That was completely steady. So, really diving into not only the money numbers, but the studio numbers, who's coming in, all of that kind of thing. So I think I just gave you like 10 biggest mistakes there.
Well, they're all big. It just depends on what. I mean, they're all linked together in a way, because one to the next and to the next. So something that I was, I heard, and again, a lot of owners ask me about it, like, as far as running like sales at your studio, do you recommend like memberships or just packages single? Because I mean, this is kind of seems like most of the fitness facilities, they're based on memberships, but Pilates is so different. So does it even have a place in it, or what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, the first thing I kind of like to do, and what's most important to me, as a coach is that I want them to feel good about how they run their business. I'm very adamant that there is not one right way to run a studio, that it is very personable to each person. Obviously, the memberships is going to create that consistent income for you. And so that's going to get rid of the highs and the lows of the packages and that kind of thing. It doesn't always work for everybody, and that's okay. And so then looking at the packages, um, a lot of studios have packages of 15, 20. I even had one that had 50. And I'm like, okay, so let's look at your cash flow. How long does it take somebody to use 50 sessions? It's like you get their cash flow once a year and that's it. And, even so, if they are running the packages, let's look at that. So there is a consistent cash flow. Can you run just a package of 4 or 5 sessions? That's still kind of like the membership model a little bit. Your cash flow is coming in once a month. I'm like max 10, but those people better be coming in 2 or 3 times a week. So you get the cash flow. And that's the hardest part that instructors, owners struggle with, is the cash flow in their business, because their business just isn't set up quite right. So yeah, we like to look at each model. I even have some studios that have a membership and a session model, but the per session rates are higher. So
yeah, it kind of depends on the setup, the offerings, and everything.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I'm not a fan of saying this is the way that you have to set up your pricing. I'm like, there's no the way in anything. It's Pilates, it's business.
That's right. There's always a unique approach to everything, and you need to be true to yourself in how you're presenting your business, how you're working with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what's important.
So as far as the mistakes, and you just touched upon this, like marketing, or like mistakes and struggles in marketing, obviously big thing. I mean, I think probably you and I get like the most, like, all of our questions somehow relate to the marketing. How
absolutely.
Client. Yeah. So you mentioned like referrals. What are some other things that you think studio owners can do to improve that marketing? I mean, obviously most of us, they don't have $2,000-3,000 in a bank account to throw on ads and stuff like that. This is just not.
No. Yeah, and a lot of people do. They like pump a bunch of money into ads. And I always tell them, to market to everyone is to speak to no one. So we have these really big hearts, and I just want to train everybody, and I can help the world, and I can save the world. And I was there. And that's basically what drove me crazy. But it's really it's super important that you need to know your ideal client, and you need to know them very well. Not only the demographics, but really get into their brain, why they're coming to you, why they like your studio, what is it about it. And I always say, imagine if you could pick out 2 of your ideal clients. If you could have an entire studio full of these 2 people, number one, who would it be? And then if those 2 were sitting around having coffee, talking about Pilates and your studio, what would they be saying? And so we can create all these little thought bubbles around what they're saying. And then you start to know your ideal client. And a lot of times studio owners are like, oh, I don't have an ideal client. And so then I can come up with several scenarios of clients they don't necessarily want to have. I'm like, here, so would you like this person? Or here, would you like this person? They always ask you for a discount. They are constantly canceling their sessions. They're not valuing you and your time. They're always late. So these are things that you really want to think about too, because you want a studio full of ideal clients, not only for you, but any instructors that you have working for you.
So do you think there are any, I mean, I know it's hard to tell, like any locations, like geographically, that are not suitable for Pilates studio?
Well, ironically, and I kind of find it humorously, if that's a word, I had a studio in the town that we live in of 1,000 people in Iowa. And I say I had a studio because we owned a fitness center, and I had the Pilates studio inside of that. we have sold it, so it's not there anymore. The building actually got sold, so the studio's gone. But I'm like, if I can run a studio in a town of 1,000 people in Iowa, a studio can go anywhere. You know,
That's right.
it's finding the people, and there are enough people in this world who will value it and have the money to pay for it, that I think any studio could be successful. Because people are, there's Pilates studios on every corner now. Well, in some places there are, not so much here, but there are getting to be more and more. Yeah, there are more and more. Um, but it's finding your ideal client. So it doesn't matter who else is going to all the other studios. It doesn't matter what franchise is opening up. You find your ideal clients, you market to them, you service to them, you keep them coming in, and that's all you need to know. You don't have to worry about everybody else who's doing or taking Pilates.
So what do you think, like, again, as far as marketing, we have obviously our online streams of marketing and our offline.
Mm-hmm.
You give them about 50% as far as like the effort that you put into it, or one you think is usually brings more results than the other one? Do you have any kind of feedback on that?
Yeah. Offline marketing with regards to print marketing, it needs to be it needs to be an extremely great deal to your exact target market. Otherwise, do not spend your money on it. Newspapers, magazines, radio, all those kinds of things, don't spend your money on it, because you can set up marketing strategies now with social media, LinkedIn, all of those different things to target your ideal clients so specifically that you can reach a lot of these people that way. But then I do hear, well, my people aren't on social media. And I use the example of my mother. She hides on social media, but she's there and she's looking. And so she's there and she's looking. She just doesn't do a lot on it, doesn't necessarily broadcast it. But then also really, a lot of studios don't ask their clients for referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to ask them. And I always say incentivize them just as a little reward for asking them. Can be a huge help also. But then just finding just a couple of referral partners,
Yeah.
where it's a really good relationship. Referral partners and asking, those things don't cost any money. They cost you time, but that's a relationship that you can develop, and Pilates is a relationship business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
So, what do you think? Well, you answered some of the questions. Like, is it possible to run a profitable Pilates studio? And like, obviously, you're an example of yes, you can, and this is what you do. You help. So, how do you help? Like, what's the process of working with you look like? I mean, how do you come in, and what do you help a studio owner do to print them up?
Yeah. So someone comes in, they start working with me. I have one-on-one packages where they can work with me too. I have a very extensive, I believe it's 7 pages. I have a very extensive 7-page questionnaire. I ask a lot of questions, and I tell them like, hey, you know what? This is going to take you a week. You're going to want to walk away from it, come back, walk away, come back, but really just diving into a lot of questions so that we can get to the bottom line of their business. That's something that I look at, and then I dive deeper into it. And then first and foremost, most people are coming to me because they need to make more money. So that's the first thing that we tackle is, okay, how is the studio going to make more money? Whether they haven't raised their prices in a while, looking at their expenses, knowing their bottom line. So we really just kind of analyze the whole thing. First, get you making more money, and then we can dive into setting up the other systems, because systems create freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that freedom's in our own mind, hallelujah, we could free up some space here. And so, yeah, creating those systems so I don't have to recreate the wheel every week, every month to get new clients in. I know that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It's done. It's there. And then we just go through that. Obviously, I mean, we touch on all aspects of it: ideal clients, marketing, getting clients started, the money. So yeah, so we have, I have the private coaching packages that are available. I have masterminds also that are ongoing monthly masterminds. And I have a course that's called More Clients, More Money. And this course is specifically set and geared towards getting, finding, and marketing your ideal clients to get more clients in the door. So it's really focused on that. Then we go into the mastermind, and that's where we can get a lot more into business knowledge and business systems with that. And then we also, I have a private group on Facebook. It's called the Pilates Studio Owners Network. That is an amazing group of, we're coming close on 1,500. Pilates Studios owner, we're very picky on who gets in. So we verify that they are a studio owner. And it is an amazing supportive group of people. I'm in there, but even better than that, you have 1,500 people that you have a question, you need some support on it. They are all over it. So it's just a fantastic group to also. So we have multi-layers.
Yeah. And that the Pilates group, the Facebook group, sorry, so anybody can join. It's not just for your paying clients. This is just for anybody, as long as they are, they fill out like you do. You can
The
put
questions and yep. So as long as they own a studio, they can join that group. And then for the More Clients, More Money and the mastermind, we also have private groups that are for the paying ones that I'm also in, facilitating things in there.
Okay, cool. So can you first question, like, how long have you been like actually coaching studio owners?
Yeah, I was trying to think the other day. I'm like, when did I first start this? I'll call it officially coaching studio owners for almost 5 years now.
Okay. So can you share some of your biggest, like, the success stories of the studios that you help? I mean, maybe one or it's a couple that really stand out. It's like, wow, if it went from down there below the visible line to like exploding.
To they're thriving. Yeah. I had a studio that I was working with. She came in, she was making about $2,500 a month. And I said, given your location and your setup and all of this, I would like to see you making $6,000 in about 2 to 3 months from now. And then in 6 months, I want you making $11,000. And this is obviously, she could, okay, Wendy, you're just going to tell me this. And so, within 4 months, she hit the $11,000 mark.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was just like a really ripe situation where I'm like, we just get a few things in place and you are going to skyrocket. And she hadn't been open very long. And so, that's the exciting thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it's also, I have some studio owners that's like a one-woman show, one person in a little tiny 300 square foot facility. And I'm like, you know what? Our goal is to get you one new client a week for a few weeks. And then if we get you one new client every other week, that's perfect, because that's what you can handle in your studio. So we really, looking at the capacity of what you can take, had another gal who skyrocketed really fast. We got some systems set up in place, tons of new clients, and she's like, okay, we got to hold on. And so at that point, we're like, okay, we can back down. She needed more instructors, couldn't get, you can't find instructors everywhere. So I'm like, okay, we're going to back down. So then in her situation, because she was starting to get into that, life is too crazy. So then we back it down just a little bit. And so, fitting it in with that life. I had 2 people yesterday. They're like, not only have you changed it was funny because they all just come to love on me on the same day, evidently. But they're like, not only have you changed my business, but you've changed my life because of the mindset and the power that I now have as a business owner. So that's the stuff where I'm just like, oh, killing me here with this.
So bring it on a little bit more.
I know. I'm like, oh, I'm just so grateful and thankful that I made the decision to say, yeah, you know what, I want to help others to do this too, because I distinctly remember when I had that conversation with my husband, and he remembers it too. and then distinctly making that decision where we're going to close or we're not going to close. And choosing to figure it out was so empowering. So I'm just so thankful that I'm able to share it with others.
So are you still running your own studio or not anymore?
Yeah, I do have a studio.
Okay, so
People are
it's
like,
still
do you take? Yeah, so I'm not personally taking clients. We lost my mother-in-law 3 years ago to cancer, and we have 3 children. My oldest son is 9. He has special needs, and then I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And she was the sole caretaker of our children. And after she got sick with cancer, I just couldn't have a regular schedule. And so, but yeah, still involved in the studio, love it. The instructors, we have the education business, which I will say is really nice because then we can just feed them into our studio. So, but yeah. So I just love all aspects of
like
it.
other studio owners, like the other side, that at some point, if you need to take a break from that constant, like I'm the sole instructor here, you have future for your business, even if you don't want to be taking new clients personally. It's just there's growth, there's opportunity over there always. You don't have to be 24/7 instructor on call
all the time. Yeah, I just talked to a client the other day and she said, well, I feel bad because I don't want to see as many clients. And I say, what do you feel bad for? Well, I should be taking clients. I'm like, there's nowhere in the entrepreneur world that says you should be taking clients. Like, if you want to back down, you've built your business to the point where you can back down a little bit, and that's okay. That's why you opened up your own business. So, but yeah, getting to that point where it's not daily grind all the time. I had another friend who she's like, I can't stand the business side of it. I want someone else to come in and like run the place and just let me train clients. So, I'm like, why don't you sell it? And so, we actually went through the process of her selling the studio so that she can just do what she loves, which is training clients. So you get both sides of it, but again, that's everything fitting together so that you can live a life that you love.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can say no to some of your goals at some point in life and just go with new ones. And I think that's another struggle that many people have, is just like, oh, I will always wanted this forever. So I'm finally here. How can I say that, oh, I don't love it anymore?
I gotta keep going.
Like I'm feeling myself, everything that I worked for, and it's this is kind of a different kind of realization that sometimes we have to make. It's like
I did have a client who had a really big studio, and she finally, after figuring out what the resistance was, she's like, I want to close down and open up in my house. I'm like, so close down and open up in your house. I'm like, it's not brain surgery. And she did, and she's loving it. So, it can go both ways. You can go bigger, you can go smaller, but it's really whatever you want. And knowing why you're doing it. I had someone who opened up a studio so that she could pay for her kids to get through college. Well, guess what? They're both graduating now, and she's kind of like, so it's fun. I love it. Our minds are such funny little things too.
So I know you shared a lot of great ideas already. So we're kind of coming in onto an end of our interview here. So can you share some of the several, like maybe 3 practical steps that any studio owner, and mostly maybe probably the one who are not like home studio, that might be different, but maybe you have something that will apply to everybody, that anybody can do on their own to improve their profits, improve the profitability of their studio.
Yes. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, I'm like, oh, which 3? The first one that I feel really adamant about is that you have to know your numbers and your break-even point. So that could be as simply as an Excel spreadsheet, putting your income up top and your expenses at the bottom and figuring out what your numbers are. And that break-even point should include a payment to yourself. You don't, as a business owner, you don't only have to pay yourself when you take a client, because you do more work than that. So figuring out, I need to make $2,000 a month minimum. And then you can backdoor all the numbers. So that's probably the number one thing that I'm like, get over that resistance and get going and learn those numbers. The number 2 is to really figure out a system on how to get your clients started. So many times I'll say to somebody, if I wanted to come to your studio, what would you tell me? How do I get started with you? Well, I'd have you come in for a free 30-minute consult, and then we would kind of discuss things and figure out what's the best opportunity for you, and then we could find a schedule. I'm like, no, because we all know 30-minute consults turn into 60 minutes and a waste of your time. And so really nailing down, you know what, this is exactly how you get started with me. Have an introductory session, package, whatever it is that you want, so that it's clear and concise. This is exactly how you do it. And don't do any free sessions.
Yeah, I agree about that.
That's in addition to it. I'm like,
bad idea,
yeah, bad idea. Yeah. And then that the third thing is really to know your ideal client so that you can speak to them and market to them, because that's who's going to hear you. That's who's going to see your marketing, your advertising, and be like, I need them. I need to go find this place right now.
So do you feel like especially for a studio that's maybe starting out or trying to get more clients, that like some kind of online advertising is usually a pretty important step of getting over? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And, for the most part, it can be free, or you can spend very little money and get some really highly targeted clientele in there.
Yeah, I guess like
and
Facebook, probably those kinds of
things. Facebook, Instagram, word of mouth is fantastic. It's just really slow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Once you have the system built up, that's great, but then you have to have some kind of coming in where it will multiply over time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And get those systems set up in place. I used to resist systems like crazy. I would reinvent the wheel every time I had the opportunity to reinvent it. And finally I was like, why are you doing this to yourself? So get it set up and roll with it if it works.
That's right. Yeah. So cool. So, we have, as far as like our biggest things, is just knowing your numbers, setting up your system of how you bring the new clients in, like kind of onboarding, having those intro packages, which is, I know a lot of studio owners, they resist that like crazy as well for some reason, but having that. And then just look at my mind, what was our number 3?
Ideal clients.
Yeah. Most important thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So having all that, excellent. And obviously, if we're doing like some kind of online marketing or something like that, it's important that you already have your system, like your basics of your studio set up, your website, your social profiles, and all that kind of stuff. It can be just showing up with nothing. Just you have to pay attention and make sure that everything's set up, just like you have the right address for your studio, the right location, all your equipment, and all that stuff. Yeah, you must have it all in place rather than just like
throwing it out there.
Yeah, I know. So, could you please share us? I know you mentioned already how studio owners can work with you, but and I'll share your websites and any of the links below the interview so that anybody can visit them. As far as your course, is it something that anybody can join at any time, or do you run it live at certain times, or and same with your coaching? Is it just, do they sign up for one-on-one like anytime they contact you, or is it just you have certain dates when you open it up for new clients?
So one-on-one coaching, we can they can just come to me at any time and we could get started on that system. And I have a couple of different packages and things. The More Clients, More Money course, we launch once a quarter. So we're just finishing up with that course right now, which is, at the end of July. So then come September again, we'll be starting that. And that is a course that can be done from anywhere. We have an online portal for our course to sit on. And then I do go in live into the Facebook groups. We have office hours. So it's kind of like, group coaching, that kind of thing. And then I really like for my clients to go through the More Clients, More Money, so we can get those systems set up first and then go into the mastermind from there. where that's more ongoing kind of business development and business training. So
in the mastermind, this is just a group of like several studio owners kind of discussing like their
yeah.
or their growth with you all together, right?
Yeah, so I do give, so I'm tweaking it just a little bit, but we have like a monthly theme. So maybe let's say next month it's going to be all about the onboarding process. So we're going to get opt-ins done for websites. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean opt-in? And so we go through the process. Like I teach you, this is how you do it. Go get it done on your website. These are the things that you need to have in steps. So the mastermind it's really about learning, but then getting it done. And then I'm there to hold your hand, have an emergency call. I said there's not many Pilates emergencies, but occasionally there is. You know, I'm there, a client's, you know, beating you down or, you know, something's going on. I'm there to kind of help you work through this situation, also in that mastermind. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing all this information with us, Wendy, today. And again, I'll share all the resources and ways to find you and connect with you. And I hope that many studio owners will use some of the, even like the simplest tips that you already shared with us. They can start
Absolutely.
using them in this, you know, in their studios right now. And they can really, whether it's like home studio or actually a commercial, like storefront kind of studio, any of that is, it's all the same stuff. It's just getting to know and like really loving what you do and making money while
making money doing it.
Yeah.
And I just had one little story that I was just thinking of when I'm like, you know, I'll share your links and that kind of thing. So one of my bigger points too is that you just have to stay in action. Like you have to do something. So my Facebook page and my website are an example. Like I said, I've been coaching studio owners for almost 5 years. Just within the last few months have I worked on a website, and just a few weeks ago I started a Facebook page. So I'm like, here I am literally proof that you don't have to have those things in place to get a business going, although it's really good to get them in place. So get them in place from the start. You do a phenomenal job. You've done several of my clients' websites, and I just dearly love them to pieces. So yes, get in touch with Anastasia and get a website going, get that Facebook page. But I don't want people to get stuck there. Oh, I don't have a website. I don't have a Facebook page. I can't do this. Yes, you can. I've just proven it. So
you have to keep moving like one. And that's another thing. I think like a lot of studios that feel like they need everything, like for their opening, the launch date or something, like they have to have it like 100%. No, you have to, like I always tell them, like set a goal once a month. This is what you work on. Otherwise, it's just so easy to get so overwhelmed that you just, you know, throw your hands up. It's like, I'm done with it. I just can't handle all this. Like it's information overload. You can't survive it.
Well, and you don't need a full studio full of equipment. I started out teaching Pilates with 4 fitness circles and 4 mats driving around to homes. When we opened our first facility, I had 1 reformer. I'm like, just get started and the rest will grow. So I think you nailed it. Just put one foot in front of the other and just keep going.
Yeah, there's always something to do. It's just, that's the part of, it's like having children. There's always something.
There's always something
to go through, and that's
more toys are going to be out than you just picked up. So
right. That's it. Well, thank you so much for all this information.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.